Let's call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Hey, welcome everyone to the June 1st LDC board meeting. Any privilege of the floor? I don't think we have guests. No, we do not. 2 minutes on page 3, please. Hopefully they've been reviewed and read, and we have a motion to accept, and then we can discuss any comments that may come up. We have a motion to accept. Craig first, second. Christine second. We have a first and second. Any discussion and modifications on the minute? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? The motion carries to accept the minutes as presented. Page 6, I believe, is the treasury.
Boring month, not a lot to report on, other than the biggest things you'll notice are the money flowing through from the grants. We have a couple projects that are 30 days late, but it's a timing thing. On the receivables, we'll see there's a couple, but it's just when they make their payments, they show up this time. Like, other than that, the balance sheet is down a little bit, but that's due to the checking account and the grants. And that's all I got, unless someone has a specific question.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report. The motion. Kent first, second, Rob. Any other discussion or questions for Paul or Scott? Okay. We have a first second to accept the report as presented. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries to accept the treasurer's report. Committee, or excuse me, council report. So okay, where are we? Show us some new ones and things.
Sure. Well, I brought these in for Paul to give him his first choice.
Okay.
Whether
I'll be the milkman.
the milkman, and then I need a cookie, of course. These are 2 costumes that we have. I'm not sure I have people to wear them yet. So if anybody does really want to wear them, I'll take it.
I'll be the 2-gallon jug in my milk.
So it will squeeze all we can out of you, Paul. But anyways, these are 2 of the costumes I have. These 2 actually we own. I purchased them for the different dairy events that go on. I have 4 more costumes that I own that I usually let the ballpark use, but trying to find kids to wear to put them in the parade. So it's been all parade here lately, folks. We're looking at a huge event. We have the largest number of entries that we've ever had since I've been doing this for 20 years. 64 different entries, 7 marching bands, all kinds of different groups coming in, motorcycle group at the end. And we did, because the Armed Forces Day Parade had to cancel their event because of the rain, we reached out to them and said, hey, would you like to be part of ours? We'll give the Armed Forces Day Parade credit. And so they said yes, so they sent over some of their entries. So it's going to be a dual Armed Forces Day, Dairy Day, Red, White, and Moon Parade. The only thing we're doing a lot different this year is we are having a performance ahead of time, sort of a concert, short concert, before the parade begins in front of the Dulles State Office Building, Northern Blend Chorus, which is a 35-member barbershop harmony style chorus. They're an international award-winning group based here in Jefferson County. They're going to start at 6:45 to do a performance on the street in front of the Dulles State Office Building, in front of the NBC Watertown broadcast booth. They'll do about 15 minutes worth of songs. Hopefully they'll pause. NBC Watertown will go live with their on-air broadcast, and then they'll perform the national anthem. And at that point, they should be just about getting tapped in the butt by the dairy parade, because it takes 17 minutes from Watertown High School to the Dulles State Office Building for the parade to hit that point. So we think we have the timing down. We'll find out. It doesn't go quite that well, we'll figure it out. No equine color guard this year, because of, the past 3 years, my safety concerns were growing. We eliminated the equine color guard. We have a VFW post and a Boy Scout troop leading the parade. Right now, barring the weather, I'm expecting somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people. Last year, we had 8,000 people. The way I estimate it is Cowlick Ice Cream hands out little cups of ice cream to all the children along the parade route. Last year, they had 2,000 cups that they handed out. And then I figured, okay, how many parents and friends per cup of ice cream that's handed out? And that's how I extrapolate a number. And I think it's probably pretty accurate. And everybody was telling me it was a great crowd.
Who's gonna argue?
Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead and argue. But I've never seen.
How we come up with a better method?
Exactly. I've never seen as strong a response to a parade. And like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years now, as I'm getting this year. So there's a lot of events going on in Watertown. I happen to be in charge of another one that's happening. So maybe that'll have an impact, but I have a funny feeling we are going to be mobbed with people. Oh, by the way, we're going to be giving out 500 free cartons of milk at our milk refueling station right in front of the Dulles State Office building, thanks to American Dairy Association Northeast and the Jefferson County Ag Promotion Board. So I'm hoping we set everything up to be, I'm going to say, one of the most phenomenal dairy parades we've had in a long, long time. There's a 30% chance of rain. So that always makes me nervous.
There's a 70% chance of sunshine.
That's right. That's right. And just as a side note, they have been doing ag economic development stuff in between the dairy parade stuff, but this week it is just crazy. I have to write a script today for the parade. If anybody would like to go to a ball game instead of the parade, I do have 3 tickets to Friday night's game. It is opening night for the Watertown Rapids. And I do have another announcer instead of me for the Rapids game, so I don't have to split myself.
I'll take a ticket
Hey, that's all right. It makes the other people happy. And I do have pocket calendars if you'd like a pocket calendar for the games coming. Ag night is going to be Saturday, June 10th. We're getting that coming together. All of a sudden, we're getting swamped with sponsors. We're trying to figure out how to put on our Ag night t-shirts. I'm going to be doing some food giveaways for Ag night. American Dairy Association is going to be there a little bit, not as much as last year, but just, big night to promote agriculture. And we do every game, there's the promotion of agriculture during the games. So I sort of try to cover 2 bases at once so that my board of directors doesn't get mad at me for doing baseball too. So, but still in contact, we're starting to try to get the pieces put together for the grant program, thanks to Jefferson County. I've had some other inquiries on small projects and such. So still other stuff going on, but this week it really does get slammed. And the past couple of weeks have been busy with the dairy parade. Monday, I'm looking forward to. So, and thank you if you're volunteering. Thank you if you're in the parade. Thank you. And if anybody wants to volunteer, I can still use 2 or 3 volunteers. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thanks. Any questions for yes?
Jay, out of the 65 entries, how many would be fire departments this year?
They came in late, like yesterday. I would say we're probably up to around 8 or 9.
Oh, great. So it's not gonna be overpowered with fire departments.
No, and actually, fire departments are very valuable because they're my spacers between marching bands. So they help me extend, because putting together a parade is an art or a science, because you have to make sure with every musical entry or noise entry that you've got that separation. And you also don't want to overwhelm, for example, kids entry. And you want to keep it varied so it stays interesting throughout the parade. So I always get requests, oh, can I be next to so-and-so? Can I do this? And can I do that? No, no, and no. You do what you're asked to do. So.
Thank you. Manufacturing. Anything update?
Well, I mean, you heard, you've seen the news on Jane Irrigation, our latest news talk to Michelle Maple workplace. They did issue, Virgil's did issue, the warning notice. It looked like we're gonna be keeping the employees down through August and or September, various phases of keeping them on to kind of finish up some productions, inventory and told got down. We've been getting calls and emails from a number of our local manufacturers saying, hey, we'd love to hire them. I said, get in line. So Cheryl's gonna look and we'll help promote it, but he's gonna go ahead for a fall job fair in the meantime, but we may, depending on what happens, we may do it, try to organize and promote a special job fair just for those people.
How many employees was that, 60 or 80?
They're about 54, 56. I mean, they're geared up for 60. They had a vacancy, so they actually have 54, 56
Okay.
like that on currently. So.
There's a total culture.
Yeah. We just met with the general manager here the month before, but at that point, this acquisition was announced last fall. We met with him in March. He was hopeful at that point because they still had finalized the acquisition because they had to go through a part, like I think it was like 12 different countries they had to go through and get approvals because of avoiding monopoly type issues and regulatory approvals for the acquisition. He's kind of hopeful. And we've always heard, with the company that product line that Jane himself tried to produce elsewhere. They just could never get the same production quantity and quality they were able to get here. But Riverless has a similar product line that's being done out in California, and they're just going to stop this product line altogether.
We should see that the where that storage warehouse, they have forklifts just in the building.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money for loading docks just a few years ago. So that's a lot of space over the fill.
Yeah. But then again, hopefully we got people ask for warehouse space all the time, so hopefully that can get that filled up here at the center here quickly. And
Hopefully the property itself can be repurposed because it's newer.
well,
Hate to see it fall into disrepair.
and
Good
there may,
spot for a fish hatchery, Jay.
and there may be
I was
some.
thinking meat processing.
Well, fish hatchery, we meat. Just thinking different types of protein.
I've heard rumors, nothing substantiated yet. There may be some interest in someone buying that for Jane building operations. And as far as manufacturing, Mark, you want to talk about the tours we're doing after the meeting?
Yeah, we're gonna be leaving here and going to, and we're all driving separately. We couldn't get a bus, but we're gonna be going to Metalcraft Marine, for a tour and then to Easy Stack.
Good day.
Anything else, under manufacturing?
Yeah, I was kind of point out two similar. I mean, you've got two Canadian-owned companies here, and that's but also two companies that deal with bending and welding aluminum too. So I guess it's similar, different applications.
The Renzi acquisition by US Foods, is that going to change any of the plans we've seen?
I reached out to John Renzi after it happened. He said they were still planning to go ahead with the expansion. And actually I got an email from US Foods yesterday and asking details about it. Yeah, I said, well, if you're coming as a new owner, we need a new application because has Justin's been counting on that, so probably we're just waiting some information from them. We don't know if it's the acquisition actually completed yet or just in the process of finalizing it. And if they're, my understanding is they're acquiring the business and the property, but and we're hearing, I mean, they may even expand more than what Renzi's.
So then now they have some depots in Syracuse.
Yeah.
This place is drivable.
But the expansion itself is going to move forward. So
Anything for manufacturing and moving to marketing?
Yes, we've, well, I guess I'll start out. Last week, I was at the New York State EDC conference, in Cooperstown, an annual conference that we go to. I would say one of the big themes of that was employee housing being a huge issue. Obviously labor, everybody's talking about labor, but people are, the question is, where are the people? to a certain extent, did a lot of regulatory stuff. Had a breakout session about exporting, which was interesting because a week earlier, we held an exporting seminar here at the Hilton Garden Inn. Not a huge attendance, but it was the people that were there, it was good for. And they really seemed to enjoy it. We had a gentleman from ESD, Department of US Commercial Service. We had Ken Davies from Bay Brokerage, as well as Dan Rickman from the Small Business Administration. They run a really great program, and people were very happy. Got a card from John Tracy, who I put the program together with, thanking me for it. And a little interesting side note, that was the first face-to-face that they've had since the pandemic, which was surprising. And they offer a lot of interesting things that I don't think people realize. If you're looking to get into exporting, they can help you find a market. They have this one called a Gold Key Service, where it's like a subsidized program. Only something like $750, where they will do an analysis, make introductions if possible. It was just something that I found to be really interesting. So that was great. New York City EDC conference was great. I'll submit my notes from that written. And we're going to be doing the tours today. So it's good stuff. Our Robin continues to do an awesome job with our newsletter. We're getting a really great open rate on that. So thank you for those of you that are checking that out. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah, I was going to actually, like Marshall, there's a lot of assistance there, and you can also combine programs from US Commercial Service and ESD, their Global New York program. So you go overseas, take advantage of the slow costs. They do the market outreach and set up meetings for you, but then ESD has programs with their Global New York, where they will actually help offset some of your marketing or travel costs to do overseas marketing.
I just want to make a comment coming back to Renzi's. I don't think we, the community, realizes what they created. Yeah, we know Renzi's, but you look at where they started, they are like number 33 or 34 in all of US right now, as far as dollar volume and food distribution system. So, I mean, for them to build that in Watertown, and they're gonna retire, I'm sure, someone. I wasn't aware their scope was so large. They're all the way up and down the East Coast. They're going well into the Carolinas, Virginia. So.
I think they took over a bunch of the stuff that CFM had when they went out.
They're at 10, 15, sometimes 20 jobs a year, and they've been steady growth.
So US carried on well as they did.
And John, clarify too that the new ownership was going to keep on current staff. So there's no passes.
Thank you, Marsh. Page 22, you've been reading us on the ARPA grant fund review.
Yes, we've been paying out a lot more checks recently. And we're going to be starting a new program shortly. But would you mind touching on some of the things? Joy has been simply amazing on the process. I say this every board meeting because it's so important to say. She's keeping all the money organized, who has submitted what paperwork, and she's really doing an awesome job. So I want to say that. And if you want to just touch base on the funds where we're at right now.
Yeah, we're at a pretty good spot here, but there are some that we're gonna have to do some nagging on. Make sure they still want the funds, because we haven't seen a lot of movement. So we're working on getting some letters together, and
Which ones are those? You're on the nag.
well, there's a
Well,
and there's some that haven't.
Oh.
So
I'm just curious what you're in.
So that would be like,
What do you mean with
Like,
category?
in all the different
And
categories.
all the different ones.
It would be a case where they haven't, say, sent back their original agreement. And so, then, and some of these folks are a little bit difficult to kind of get in touch with if it's on the rental side. And, yes, we want to do this. We had one where, person sold the property before he did the work, and we're not just transferring the money to the new person. So there is, as we expected, there are people that are not gonna, it's one of those things also where you have to pay to get reimbursed. And so people, might not have $12,000 laying around to maximize their grant. So there is gonna be cases where, money starts to open back up. And I have a list, but I think that's kind of what,
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
reimbursement grant, but are there others waiting in line?
there are, yeah,
Me too.
on the rental property.
How much time do you give someone to make a decision?
Well, we kind of have to give them the full length, we have to give them the full length of time that we told them, so it's we said a year, but it was technically 18 months, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we said we wanted people to have this thing, at least in process within a year, but it's 18 months. It's actually-
Right, and there are things going on behind the scenes, we're working with people. Some of them, it's an insurance issue, like they don't want to do the insurance or something, but, we're working on it between all of us. Jay's, I think, got his pretty much wrapped up, and we're working on those too, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got just a couple that are outstanding. There's a
Right.
couple I've got to make visits to next week, so.
Yeah.
We're doing.
So-
good.
It's all falling into place.
Going smooth, actually, I'd say.
Actually.
Do we expect the Houndsville sewer to put an invoice in soon? Seems like we only put out 200.
No, that money will put out for them to do the design, so when they're ready to start construction, that's when the money will help offset some of the construction costs. So they're going through the review process.
But that's
Yeah.
committed. It might
Yeah, it's
be
just, it's more of the
next
process.
year
procedure.
project. Gonna get their boat knocked down first. Water.
The boat launches.
Oh, yeah, boat launch. Hey, less boat traffic and more out there. Not more, but it's.
There's more boat traffic in Henderson.
Rob,
Yes.
just one note, and Joy made me think of it, and I apologize for interjecting with this. But it was one of our grant recipients, now I've got to remember, Euro Farms down in Rodman, very, very small operation. I was actually pretty skeptical, shouldn't say that. But, I was a little bit concerned when they applied as to how good a project this would be. They wanted to grow, they wanted to start and grow, providing, meat birds, to sell. So, did the project, they got all their stuff done, we reimbursed them, and, things look good. The other day I ran into, Mrs. Thomas, and I asked her, I said, so how are things going? How's the grant? She said, oh, we're selling at the farmer's market now. I was like, yeah,
Yeah, great.
that's what this
What was
is
the
about.
market?
This is Euro Farms,
Yeah.
down in Robin. They applied for equipment to help them process, chickens for meat poultry. And they, very small, very, mom and pop operation. And like I said, I was a little bit, but they're selling at farmer's market now.
How do you raise the question for me with beef? We have the whole USDA and the veterinarian. Do they have the same restrictions in the poultry marketing? Does they have?
It's different. You are allowed to process at home a certain number of birds that you can then sell to the public. Yeah, it's a little bit different, setup. So, but yeah, it is possible. But I was just, when she told me that, I was like, that's what this was all about. So thank you.
In the farmer's market, what is the end product that they're selling?
Meat birds, I don't know how they're cutting them, but either whole broilers or halves or quarters. So,
So are they selling them refrigerated or frozen?
I believe frozen, but I don't know that for certain. I didn't ask, but I believe frozen, and I don't know what the regulations require on that, so.
certainly cool.
Certainly
that.
cool, yeah.
We know at least it's cool
Let's hope so, let's hope.
all the time. not
Yes,
just
all
at
the
sale.
time. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Anything else under ARPA? Okay, anything from council in this meeting, I doubt, but I'll ask. Going once. Okay. Any new business?
Just one issue, question for the board. So our next board meeting, is July 6th, for the third of the month, the 4th of July is on Tuesday, so I'm just checking to make sure that other conflict people are, we have enough, I mean, I'm assuming people will be taking longer beforehand, because we need to look at, scheduling for later.
I'm gonna go a week later, that's.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's already, probably most people will be doing things the weekend before, but if you want to move it a week, that's fine, but that's, I just want to complicate some of our other business. We're not usually busy during summer, so I don't know if there's applications coming in that'll conflict with committee.
Well, as we'll be doing the North American takes pilot initial authorization. So, is it okay for folks?
I just want to move it back a week.
We'll go back to the,
13.
Just gotta decouple, because I mean, that's the big weekend of the summer. A lot of people.
right, so we'll do that.
Not just the week.
Comes one day.
Thanks. Love that commute.
July 6th, we do the check on the third.
You know, right now it sounds fine, but I guarantee you Monday before Tuesday, it's like, well, I would be sitting there saying, why the hell didn't we move that back?
For this on Thursday. Alright. So, yeah, we can, so we'll move that same time in place, different date. And I guess the only thing, just, I asked to have staff look ahead and see if there's anything that's mind sensitive, where we might have some committee conflicts where I doubt some big rock for the moment is gonna show up. That doesn't make it to the board, but North American he said.
Yeah, so,
What about that industrial park? There was something else in
So
the
we'll-
industrial park
we'll do
that
that.
may or may
We'll
not
need-
show up.
we need to do that at the IDA meeting today, the bill.
Okay,
But-
yeah, well, that building reviews here,
Yeah, yeah.
but then they gotta get a pilot application.
So we're expecting to do the pilot application review for the June, loan review committee meeting, which would typically be.
So we got time.
28.
All right, as long as that,
We can still have that for 28.
yeah, so as long as that can fit into the. Okay, good.
So that timeline we're expecting is North American to review the application, June 28th, comes to the board on July 13th. We public hearing, final approval on the board.
Sounds good. That new business, if there's nothing else, ask for a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
All first, second, boy, what is rushing into this one?
Second.
John second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, good, the motion carries.
One quick comment, page 22 on the ARPA funds, I find that very informative. All those.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, we missed over, actually, we skipped over the, ARPA fund report.
No,
No,
Marshall
that's
did it.
right, we saw that.
Yeah, he did it.
That's right, we thought for.
And Jamie brought up something that was relevant, human back. The IDA meeting is called to order, we're calling it to order, excuse me. We did the pledge, privilege of the floor, I think, Phil Mills, yeah. Treasurer's report, or excuse me, minutes, page 3. It's been received, and we can have a motion to accept is presented. Dave Converse at first.
Second.
Bill, I'll get down to Bill, he teaches, just
Yeah.
barely.
Yes.
Bill second, any further discussion or comments on the minutes? Okay, all in favor to accept is presented, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, that motion carries, Paul. Yes.
Okay, it's pretty uneventful, but there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. The pilot sale and leaseback fees, we'll see, we haven't collected any yet. We have several projects that we've approved, we're waiting to close on, and hopefully we'll see some revenue generating there. But it brings up the question on how long do we wait on projects before we expect a closure on them, and it's for a future board meeting, but one of the solar projects has been out there a while, hasn't it? And how long do we wait before, do we have discussions on expectations of closing? Are they trying to sell the project before they close on the project? That's the type of things. I know we have additional fees if they transfer it, the pilot to someone, but that's a number we need to be watching, because that's 1.2 in our overall revenue structure. You'll see that it was a big month for Y income coming in. And if you look at it, there's $2.1 million in expenses that have come through our books going to the Y project this year, which is quite good. You'll all receive the email yesterday that we have finalized our agreement on the one default with running boards. It's good news that we were able to negotiate that settlement and that payments come through. Other than that, everyone's current on that list except for the one default, which will be gone. And at what time, Lyle, do we talk about adjusting the reserve for bad debt? Are we gonna have to do that at some point?
No, I suggested that we charge that directly to bad debt, because there are receivables on the books that could go south quickly, I think.
And unless there's any questions, that's all I really have to put out in the financial reports.
All right, motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So move.
Ed, first, second,
Second.
Lisa, second. Any other discussion or questions for Paul? All in favor to accept as presented? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Also, page 15, 16, alternative energy.
There were some notes from the meetings we've had included in one of the packages, I forget, but we've had meetings with two of the three on two of the three large projects we've met with the taxing jurisdictions. We have the last one coming up next week. And I'm sure we're going to hear the same thing that we've heard all along, and that is the tax cap and the impact on school districts and their reluctance, their concerns around that and those impacts. Also, the state has issued their valuation model after they've adopted, the governor pushed through that amendment to take it out of the review process, rule adoption. Just to give you an idea that the state is providing no guidance on how to apply it. Their answer is talk to your municipal attorney, and it's so new, there's not a municipal attorney that's going to understand it. To give you an idea, I was helping the town align with the one project there, and their attorney, Mr. Spitzer's firm, we came up, what they submitted was their calculation. They had a different calculated tax load than what we had. And there's no one to ask whether
Who's right?
who's right. I believe we're right because I ran into some other people. But theirs came up, using their number, they came up with a higher implied value than what I would come up with. So I think it's all how you apply the equalization rate. So, but the real issue, besides the tax cap, is local officials are getting no help from the state in how to proceed with this. It's just ridiculous. They're jamming these projects through. Tax and Finance does this, and there's nobody that the local officials can talk to. That's got to change because it's too much impact locally. So, and I'm sure when we meet with Lyon, we're going to hear other issues.
The status quo.
So far, but I don't think we're going to hear any different input from school district this project from the schools that we heard elsewhere. The numbers are just the impact of the tax cap is huge for the school districts. And force them into doing tax cap overrides, and none of them want to do that because it requires a 2/3 vote of the public. But if you look at the recent voter responses to local budgets, they all passed with like 85% to 90% approval. So,
So what, in the minutes, you referenced it, the fact that the Greens Corners project went from 88 million under the previous model. Under the new state model, it goes to 46 million.
in that range, yeah.
What effect is that gonna have on flipping to 100% of value versus pilot? And the pilot.
Well, first off, we had no discussions on what numbers to use in a pilot yet on a large project. But to give you an idea, that the equalization rates are having a huge part on the taxable value. So if you look at Lime, if they went from a 92% equalization rate, 94 to 82. So that knocked 200 grand off the taxable value right there, just the equalization rate. So a 5 megawatt facility in Lime dropped by over 300 grand by using the state's model with the equalization rate. So 100 of it was due to the tax load change from year to year. The rest was due to the equalization. So it's hard to predict what it's going to do at that time. They're still above our pilot numbers. What full taxation would be is more than what the pilot is in line. But what that will do for these large ones, I don't know. I think there's still, these large projects I'm projecting full taxation for me to $7,000 to $8,000 and more.
Paul, the equalization for the pilots we've already executed, I know we can never be above full taxation. Are there a couple that you maybe predict because of these equalizations, we might get there sooner than later? Where we
I
have to
think
do look
that
backs?
in 15 years, you're gonna cross that line.
Okay, so then we would.
It all depends. Who knows how the state reacts? If they change their discount rate, they left the discount rate the same, even though we know there's huge changes in the cost of money, which is a big factor in the discount rate. So if they adjust the discount rate dramatically to catch up with the cost of money, they have something called the weighted average cost of capital calculation. If that changed dramatically, that could accelerate it. And I would shock they left the discount.
So if one of these projects gets to the point of full taxation, is there a simple, I just drop the pilot and start paying full taxation, or do we have to go backwards and renegotiate
That's
something like in the
I
future?
think you're talking quasi Justin.
Okay.
If
I'm
we're
wondering,
comfortable, it's gonna be up for to them to make a decision.
If we renegotiate, I would think that it's paying the additional legal costs, if they're looking for, I don't know why you would ever wanna do that again, because it's another.
Listen, I think
It's more of an esoterical question, we're not there yet, but, I mean, the way the state is heading in one direction, and the way municipalities and schools want certain tax certainty and tax cap, thresholds to not be exceeded, it seems like everybody's working against each other, especially the state, but that's my opinion.
What was the fact, the fact that we are reverted schedule, reflecting the lowest pilot at the end of the end? Would that kind of moderate
The state
will,
this kind of
when you
thing
have an
will happen. That's
equalization
the
rate
problem.
that drops 10% in 1 year, you know, that's gonna more, listen, I'm just guessing that there's gonna come a day when those numbers cross.
Yeah, like-
And then it's gonna be up to the developer, do they live with the pilot? I think you're into Justin. Are we required to charge them less if they don't ask for less if it crosses? I don't know.
Well, we can always charge what we've agreed to until the point where they say, I don't wanna pay this anymore, then that discussion has to start.
One of the concerns this year is the state didn't adopt their budget till after taxable status date. I mean, tentative roll date. So all these companies had to file grievances technically to get their assessment lower using the new model. One of the questions that the state's not answering, some assessors said, hey, it's after taxable status date. We're not changing it. You gotta file a grievance. If they didn't file a grievance, is there a problem for the town because they didn't use the model even though they were directed to? All these questions, you get no answers. They say, talk to your local attorney. I'm like, well, listen, a local attorney gonna act on something that's 2 weeks old. So that's the problem. The lack of guidance from tax and finance is just amazingly bad.
You wanna add something, Justin? We've been throwing your name around.
I know. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Just as a side note, the general municipal law, the IDA Act does have a statement in there that prohibits the IDA from collecting pilot payments that would be more than normal ad valorem taxes. So there's a forced cap within the statute. So there may be a point in time where there's a literal requirement to modify the pilots in some capacity if you do see that dropping assessed value falling below what would normally be collected by the assessors if the property were taxable.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on alternative energy?
No.
We move on to unfinished business, this is Dave, Arsenal Street update.
Yeah, I mean, Mark's in part of the meetings too, but we're gonna continue to do weekly meetings. We're not doing the weekly meeting. We're not doing it this week, but, project continues to progress. They're still looking at completing in November of this year. We've got a group coming up on the 12th with our project manager from the, DOD program, JCIDA program, that's funding the project. Will be on site to meet with us and Denise and the Garrison Command Fort Brown with the site, see how things are going. Going smoothly for ourselves, we're a great job managing it. No project, a lot of complications as you can imagine, but they've been doing a good job of
Ed used to say how great it was to see, how many cranes did you say you saw in the city do?
Oh, yeah.
There's 3 in Shimon.
Yeah.
10 minutes to Tuesday, just to get through the light.
Hmm.
To the morning.
Trains are always some of the new development. Build outs, expensive build outs.
New business, page 17, and then some additional, elevation view pickup sent,
That's fine.
North American tapes. So as typical, this is in, one of the industrial parks, old, correct?
No,
The original, I'll call it the original.
Yeah.
So we have the right and responsibility to review the building plans just for, appearance, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know if there's much more here to add, Dave, but I
I'll-
want to queue up what
Sure.
we're looking at and what the project entails.
Yeah, so as you look at this to the, your left, you'll see that hashed area, that's the 19,000 square foot addition. What the company is doing is basically creating some additional warehouse space, realigning everything, where the trucks are kind of toward the front of the other end of the building currently. And so what they'll do is that'll free up they'll move some warehouse space down here. So you can have some new production lines, basically it'll move where stuff, the rubber and stuff comes in on one end to make the adhesive and the cloth fabric, to run through the calendars to make tape, go through the slitters and the packaging, and then to the final warehouse operation. So they'll be coming to us, and we have the pilot application, we'll bring it to the overview this month. But one thing you see that the product, the parking does extend beyond the front line of the building. And as I noted, to my commission ahead of time, we have that. So if you look at, if you do an aerial, you see that the majority of the building has been placed in the original park. For some reason, most of them have parking that extends beyond, if not directly in front, extends beyond the front line of the building. So in this case, it's not going to significantly change the character of that part of the park. It actually will, it allows them, they're between site topography and lot size. They don't really have much choice if they want to do an expansion, do it efficiently, cost effectively. And it will help with safety, because right now, this will get the trucks off the road to the loading area. Right now, at the end of the day, during rush hour, they've got trucks lined up at, along the road, which kind of causes an issue for the other trucks in the park. Corresponding with the corporate park committee via email, the suggestion I did send out a note to the other tenants in that portion of the corporate park, saying here's the issue, being upfront, it does, technically violate the covenant in terms of the location of parking, and that's where we've got other locations too, and nobody opposed. I got a couple of people saying they had no issue, and typically they don't I may get a couple people when we do this saying we have no problem, or they don't respond at all. Which my notes and we say, don't know if there is a problem, so.
So we've notified tenants.
Yes.
We received satisfactory response, and then we have some plans to look at and review.
Yeah, the planning board is meeting next Monday. Town planning board will be doing their public hearing and final site plan approval of seekers, so our approval of this will be part of their approval.
My only comment on the entire plans would be a question is whether or not the tractor trailer loading entrance, whether or not that's been reviewed and approved by Jefferson County, that's right.
Yeah, Jim looked at that, top of that. Because we've already have Jim started on that. Yep.
Okay, any other discussions before we take a motion to further discuss and approve these?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. We have a first,
John.
your, is that John? It really sounded like Rob. That was odd. It didn't feel it. First, second, any other discussion?
Do we need to have anything in there, since we are the sole arbiter of whether we, amend the deed restrictions to allow that, should the motion include or approve the site plan with parking in front of the building? So that we are clearly approving a variance from the deed restrictions.
Yeah, or, recognize, we can put some phraseology in the minutes of space saying to the effect that.
If you want to amend that to say site plan is presented with parking.
And we approve the site plan that's presented with the parking in the front.
Yeah.
And increase our, they're a great company, increases their ability to expand.
They're growing, I mean, they're growing.
I mean, we've known this has been coming for, ever since we started those negotiations for the expanded entrance to the park, so I mean, this is reaching the end of that thing.
I like the portion of the phraseology you mentioned where it said it doesn't change the character and it actually enhances the site.
Well, it's better already with the clear name.
And just so you know, things are progressing with the entrance, National Grid is in the process, still finishing up moving the gas line to the parking, for example, with 20 on highway department can start working on that entrance. Hopefully we'll get there, that'll all be completed before fall. And actually, I would like Rob to ask if we could go into executive session, discuss a potential sale or acquisition of real property in this meeting.
This meeting after we do, okay. I
Any-
didn't know if it's relevant to sit there.
Not to this project.
Okay, John, do you accept the amended resolution?
Yes.
That's fine, okay, so resolution was made, it was amended to specify site plan and elevation plans as presented, which specify and show that the parking does impact the front building line. We have first and second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? None, the motion carries, and we'll let North American takes notice. And I'll my spot where the IDA. So,
These figures will be ready on the 28th for.
council, anything, oh, we switched.
We switched, I just jumped on.
Okay, well, Justin was there a moment ago.
Yeah.
He told us they'd be switching.
Okay, anything to add in this meeting?
No, I also just did join only a few minutes ago.
Okay.
But if Justin didn't add anything, then I'm sure he would have if he had
We
to.
asked him a question which he responded to sort of in the alternative energy session, so. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
So, nothing there. So before we adjourn, there was a request, that we, in executive.
I'd entertain we enter an executive session, to discuss the potential sale of property, and any board members and staff are welcome to join.
Board, okay, for a second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed?